Guys, how are you doing today? It's P.E. Gilbert, your blogger, writing consultant, and the author to the fantasy novella, The Sultan's Daughter. And today, we are honoured to have an interview with the voice actor, Tom Aglio. Tom has done voiceover work for commercials, animation, and has the lead role in the original web series, Project Infinity. Tom is positive, captivating, and deeply passionate about what he does. Here is the interview. Enjoy. So, tell us a bit about yourself. Where do you come from, and how did this place give you the opportunity, or the opportunities, I should say, to become a voice actor?
Sure. So, I'm from New York, born and raised on Long Island specifically. And I've been doing theater my whole life. I've been doing it my whole life, and it's I love to do it. I mean, ever since I was I played, my first role was Wilbur in Charlotte's Web, and I think like third grade or something like that. And then ever since then, it was kind of just, I had the bug and it bit me, and I was ready to go. And and I did theater forever, and through college, and I'd always liked like animation and video games and cartoons and all that stuff and anime. But I never really thought about that I could take my acting and bring it to voice acting until in college. I actually had a friend was like, you really should look into that. And at first, I'm not gonna lie, when I was younger, I was kind of cocky, and I was like, well, I want to be a real actor and all these different things. And but I'd always respected the craft. And then I was actually on my way to Pennsylvania to do a regional show there. And I just was listening to the VGAs, the Video Game Awards. And I just, kind of fell in love with listening to the voice actor interviews and stuff like that. And just fast forward a few years, and, my then girlfriend, now wife, was like, you really should try it. You've been talking about it. So kind of just dove right in, and it's been bumping ever since. So being in New York, getting to do all that theater really paved the way for me to do more voiceover and character work and commercials and stuff like that. So
sounds like you're in the right place. You heard the right adverts and the right shows at the right time.
Absolutely.
It's a perfect mix, and you're very good at what you do, as we'll come to very shortly.
Thank you very much.
What was the spark that made you decide to become a voice actor?
Definitely when I was, on my way to Pennsylvania, that was like the spark where I was like, you know what? I need to try this, because I love watching these, I love watching these voice actors just talk about their craft and creating different characters, and for theater and on camera and stuff, you're kind of limited for the most part to, what you look like and your type and everything. But with voice acting, I was listening to these people playing, they were playing aliens and superheroes and all these different really, really cool things. And I just, it gave me a chance to just be something that I never would get to be otherwise in acting. So that's kind of like really what lit the spark. I was like, you know what, now I need to really try this. But, all throughout my life, I'm a big gamer. So playing video games and stuff like that, I would just see these classic characters like Sonic the Hedgehog and all these different characters being voiced. And it was awesome to just see how their voices changed as I grew up and the different actors that played them. And it was just, I think the bug was always there, and people always kind of told me to try it out. But once I saw those interviews, I was like, this is where I feel like I need to be. So
that's a really interesting answer. I really like it. Thank you for sharing it with us.
No, thank you for allowing me to share it.
How do you find work as a voice actor, and has the pandemic affected your career at all?
Sure. So the first part, how I find, my main thing, and I actually teach direct marketing and voiceover, and I try to tell all my students, you want to have as many lines in the water as possible. You have your traditional routes that I have, your agents and all that. And, I'm on the websites, which are called pay to plays, which are, you basically pay for a subscription, and you have access to all these different auditions and whatnot. And I definitely do that as much as possible. But, I try to reach out to as many, different types of companies as possible. I try to reach out to e-learning companies and production companies and ad agencies, just to really broaden my grasp over the different genres of voiceover. And I network with tons of different people on multiple different social media sites, so we could definitely talk all day about each of the avenues that I kind of go down to find voiceover work. But basically, anywhere that you could think of potentially trying to find an in to do voiceover work, whether it's like, a company down the street or a big Fortune 500 company or animation studio, I'm probably there trying to figure out how to get involved.
Sounds like you know how to succeed.
I try. I definitely try. It's been, a lot of, it's the grind, but it's the best thing, and you're working towards something that it's your dream. So there's nothing that compares.
The grind is what makes you succeed as well.
Absolutely.
In football/soccer terms, we
Sure.
say it's all great, being creative going forwards, but you've also got to do the grind of going backwards and doing the defensive work. It sounds like you've got all the attributes necessary, and the voice too, I should say.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and it's something that I always try to tell other voice actors too. You always got to go back to the basics, going off of what you said. I constantly coach with different, coaches and actors and different casting directors, because it's always good to just to do brush ups. And I'm always kind of looking to reinvent my marketing and kind of reinvent how I present myself on social media and the websites and stuff. So, you always got to go back to the basics, like you said, and it's good. You over time, you build like a nice foundation to create a career on.
Well, you've created a very strong foundation, I should say.
Thank you. Appreciate
and
that.
Your marketing is pretty good as well.
Thank you.
It's no wonder you're teaching about this stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, I try. It's everything. You're selling yourself more than you're really selling your voice. So that's what I try to teach my students. So I appreciate that's noticed. So thank you.
What was your training to be a voice actor?
So honestly, going back, like my training goes back to like my theater days. It's just acting. And I tell, a lot of people say, well, voiceover, voice acting, they focus so much on the voice and not so much the acting bit, and yes, you do want to, I've taken classes, with mic technique and the business side of voiceover, learning the ins and outs there. But in terms of like voice acting, my training specifically goes back to like my theater days, the training that I did there, trial and error, different plays and seeing what worked and what didn't. Taking various workshops in commercial, in character work, in video game work and whatnot. So acting training is really, really, really where I kind of got my start. And, just like any other actor, like I said, different workshops and meeting casting directors and stuff like that. So it's all the different avenues of acting. They really are way more similar than a lot of people would think.
You've given me food for thought on that matter. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Speaking of characters,
Mm-hmm.
you give voice to the character Gun Lambton. I hope I've pronounced that name correctly.
Yes, that is correct.
Good. In Keiko's/MLA Entertainment's original web series, Project Infinity.
Mm-hmm.
You do a very good job, I must say.
Thank you very much. He's fun to play.
He is indeed, I can believe it. How did you get the role, and what did you have to do for it?
It's funny. I actually signed on. So Project Infinity is one of two projects that I continue from like my very beginning of starting voiceover, just because I love working with Keiko and the team, and I just genuinely enjoy doing it. So it's been a project that I've done throughout time, throughout the years. And when I was first starting out, I was on a website called Casting Call Club, and just kind of testing the waters there and learning about voiceover and different characters and stuff. And Keiko actually reached out to me, via messaging there and asked me to audition for Gun. I think she had found me through either through my website or on Casting Call Club. I don't remember which. But it was actually really funny. So I, just a regular audition. She asked me to audition for the part, and it was, that night I went to audition. And this was before like I had a booth and whatnot, and I was kind of just recording in my in-laws' basement at the time. And I'll never forget, I had to yell. I don't remember the line, but I had to yell really, really, really intensely for the audition. And it was late at night. I was like, I'm going to wake my in-laws up. They're going to call the police and thinking I'm getting like killed down there in the basement. Thankfully they didn't hear it. But it was great. I did the audition. It was intense. And then, by the next morning she had cast me. So it was all worth the fear of waking the whole neighborhood up. But I'll never forget that audition just because of that reason.
Sounds like you did a very good job. You've landed a very good continuous role, which is always
Thank you.
good. And,
Hmm.
keep it up, keep going. There are plenty who like what you do, love your character. And I look forward to seeing where he ends up in the long run.
Thank you. I do too. It's always a surprise, whenever I read the script, kind of seeing what he's doing next. And I'm actually really, really excited for the next episode to come out, because some things that I've been waiting for that Keiko's kind of been building up to are starting to happen. So I can't wait.
Likewise. And this leads on to the next question very nicely.
Hmm.
What two things do you like most about your character in Project Infinity?
I really like that he's very layered. He's not just a one-dimensional kind of hero type character, because he's extremely flawed. I mean, he's terrified of dying. He's selfish a lot. His immaturity kind of really, really shines through. But he has a lot of room to grow. And, Keiko's writing definitely lends to that. But Gun is just one of these characters that I get to kind of dip into my own like emotional, things that have happened to me and my own story, and bring my own emotions to the forefront. So I really love how layered he is, and just he's very volatile. Like every single page, I never know if he's going to be weeping or happy or terrified or angry or whatever it may be. So he's got a lot of layers. So there's that. And honestly, it's funny. It goes back to like why I love doing voiceover. He's this kind of like handsome, everyman type character. He's definitely a character that I probably would not get to play otherwise. Just because of how he looks and who he is and his type and stuff like that. So to be able to play, this character that has all these layers, but also is honestly probably not a character I'd play otherwise. That's probably what I love about it.
What a great answer.
Thank you.
I totally see that about a layered character who is flawed,
Mm-hmm.
not your traditional hero. Quite honestly, that's why I like him too.
Yeah. He's not black and white. There's a lot of gray area with him. And there are many times that I don't agree with him. Like I don't like what he's doing, but I think that's what makes such a good character, is that you do form an opinion, such a strong opinion, I should say, of whether you agree or disagree with him. So it's really been, he's probably one of my favorite characters that I've ever played, and he probably will be always.
You also narrate a scary story on the Disturbed podcast.
Mm-hmm.
How different is it to give voice to a horror story as opposed to your character in the thriller Project Infinity?
And I'm really glad you asked that, because it goes down to just technique with voiceover. That kind of falls more into like the narration, maybe some audiobook type genre, whereas in Project Infinity, the characters are the forefront, and the writing kind of lends itself to the characters, and you want people to identify with the characters, and you want what's happening to the characters to be the main thing that people focus on. Whereas in the Disturbed podcast and other narration and audiobooks and stuff that I've done, yes, you want to, the voice is important, and you definitely want people to pay attention to the narration itself, but you don't want the voice to be so up and down and all over the place that they're focusing, people are focusing more on the voice than they are on the actual story. So you really have to walk that fine line of, giving emotion and acting out the story, but keeping yourself reserved enough that people focus more on the words and what's going on, as opposed to, what the actor and the narrator is actually doing with his or her voice. So it's a very, very different style of voiceover, and one that, believe it or not, is actually very difficult, because like I said, you do walk that fine line. And it can be very easy to kind of drift into opinions, and how you feel about what's going on, but you really can't, you got to let you got to let the viewers kind of, and the listeners kind of form their own opinion. So you really have to walk that line of not showing too much emotion, but also, not being flat and stuff like that. So
You understand your discipline brilliantly.
thank you. I appreciate that.
And thank you for explaining it as well, so eruditely.
Thank you. I'm love talking about it. So, I love talking shop. I geek out over this stuff. So
You're not geeking out at all. You're helping a lot of people in the process.
good. I'm glad.
What kind of voice acting haven't you done yet that you would like to do?
I haven't done too many audio dramas, and I think that kind of like feeds my theater soul, so to speak. I would really like to get more into some audio dramas, you know, like audio plays and stuff like that. And I really actually, I've done a little bit of it, but not too much. I really, really, really want to get into promo within the next few years. Because I've had, you know, with my agents, I've had some really nice promo auditions. And I was actually, it was down to me and one other person to be the voice of the Discovery Channel, all their promos. You know, they wound up going with a female voice, which is fine. I mean, you know, the voice that I listen to now does a great job. But I would really like to get into more promo work because it's very steady. And it's just, you know, you become the voice of a network, and it's you are kind of the guiding, the voice in between all the shows and what people kind of listen to, you know, when they're not listening to the shows and stuff like that. So promo is probably where I really, really, really want to get into in the next couple of years.
Well, please God, you'll get it, and
Yes,
you'll
I'm
become
hoping
that
so.
voice. You'll become the voice of the network / the show.
I would love to. That's the dream. That's the long-term dream right now.
Would you ever consider doing other kinds of acting?
Sure. You know, I definitely, and I was telling my wife, I would love to get back into theater one day. You know, it's just a lot of fun with that cast camaraderie and stuff like that. And, you know, given the opportunity, I wouldn't turn down, you know, any big on camera or, you know, auditions for TV shows or movies and whatnot. You know, right now I'm kind of just focusing on the voiceover because, you know, when you treat it like a business, it takes up, you know, all of your time, you know, your working time. But I would definitely love to get back into especially theater later on down the road because it's just so much fun to do. And, you know, and with voiceover, you don't often get to record at the same time as like the rest of your castmates. So I kind of miss that cast camaraderie. And I'm definitely in a few projects right now where I get to do that. So just to be able to riff off of other actors again, I very much look forward to those days. You know, once the pandemic's over and everything like that, I can't wait.
If you could go back in time and speak with
Mhm.
your younger self, what advice would you give him about being a voice actor?
You know, this is something that I've said to people before, and I stick to it, and I probably always will stick to it. If I could go back in time and talk to, you know, the beginning voice actor me, it's just, you know, that joy that I felt, you know, and that excitement for every single audition, and that, like, you know, just approaching every audition with abandon and just letting loose, and you just loved the process of auditioning. Just never lose that, you know, because there's so much rejection in this business. And, you know, and it does become like you know, it becomes a job, and, you know, you're a professional auditioner and you're kind of pumping them out after a while. But just that excitement and that just pure joy of the process, don't ever lose that, because, you know, if you can hold on to that and not, you know, worry about the rejection and not take it to heart, I mean, there's nothing you can do but succeed. And I try to tell a lot of younger voice actors, just never, ever, ever lose sight of that feeling of why you got started in the first place.
That's great advice. I
Yeah,
really like it. It doesn't just apply to voice acting either. It applies to just about everything,
it does.
quite honestly.
It
And
does.
I really hope those you do teach, your pupils, proteges, whatever you'd like to call them, I hope they take that advice on board and they maintain the same enthusiasm that you do, that you still
Thank you.
have, that you seemingly have never lost and please God never will lose.
Yeah, you know, it's tough, and it's definitely, it's a tough thing to hold on to, but if you can just remember that there's always going to be, you know, more auditions, and you're always going to get more opportunities to kind of show your stuff and just let loose, then you'll be able to write your own ticket. And I really believe that.
In your opinion,
Hmm.
what is the hardest part about voice acting?
You know, the hardest part about voice acting is you only have your voice to display emotions, you know, because, you know, body language speaks volumes. You know, I'm sure there have been tons of times where you've watched a show or a movie or a play or something, and the character's saying one thing, but their body language is obviously saying something else, you know, and you can kind of see, you can kind of understand what they really mean just by looking at, you know, the physicality of it. You don't have that in voiceover. You don't have the luxury of your face, of, you know, your body language and whatnot. So you really, you know, you can say, you know, a character can say yes, but if they really mean no, you have to work that much harder to get that point across to the listener, because you don't have anything else but your voice to display that. So that really, really is very difficult to do. And it takes a long time to master. And honestly, I'm still, you know, I'm still learning it every single day. Um, but to be able to kind of have that control over your voice to express what body language otherwise would is very difficult, and it's a skill that you really have to keep refining over time.
I can tell you in writing, it's exactly the same thing. If you want in dialogue to say one thing, but your character is saying something else or something between the lines that you want your audience to realize, it is just as difficult.
Yeah,
Or
I
I
can only
shouldn't say
imagine.
just as difficult, but it is really difficult.
I can only imagine. It's difficult in its own ways, and it's tough, but it's so important to get the story and move the story along and build those characters that it's just, you have to learn how to do it.
Again, I hope your pupils take that message on board.
That's my hope. Yes, absolutely.
This is a question I love to ask voice actors and hopefully actors in good time as well.
Sure.
Say you have a cold or the flu one day, yet you have, yeah, exactly. Yet you have recording to do.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do so as to make your voice come across as engaging rather than ill-sounding?
I think it varies based on the different genres. For animation, it's funny. I've actually, there's been times where I've been sick and I've had to tell like my director if I had lines due. I had to be like, listen, like, unless you want my character to be written with a cold that day, I'm going to have to take a few days off. But, there are certain things that you can, obviously you drink your tea and try to rest your voice as much as possible outside of recording. But if you're sick with a cold or something, it lends a rasp to your voice. So you kind of, if you're dealing with a character, you definitely, for Gun, for example, I want to lean into that, those, the moments where he's particularly quiet or his voice is hushed. I kind of want to lean into, a cold can really make your voice raspy and quieter. So I'll lean into that more and kind of make it seem like that's part of the character and not that I'm just sick. Or, if he's yelling and whatnot, your voice is obviously, it cracks more when you're sick and it sounds more strained. So you lean into that in terms of the emotion more and make it seem like it's naturally coming from the character. In terms of commercial work and stuff like that, believe it or not, that vocal fry, and that kind of raspiness is very, right now with commercial work, especially because that whole conversational sound. And a lot of people, they naturally just sound raspy and have that vocal fry when they're talking just, with amongst their peers. So I guess it's the same, actually, just leaning into that more and without, putting on any more strain than you have to, if that makes sense.
It makes complete sense. And I think
Cool.
that's an excellent way of using a cold / the flu to your advantage.
Yes, but I don't advocate for it. If you can rest your voice, always take that. Always choose that as opposed to working, because you don't want to damage your pipes any further than they already are while you're sick.
When people listen to your voice acting and talk to you about your work, how does it make you feel?
It's amazing. I mean, it's just, the one thing, just to be able to hear my voice, on TV or coming out of a character, is just, I will never get over it, no matter, how big my career gets. But just to, there was a web series that I was part of called Songs of War. That was another thing that I recorded way earlier in my time as, starting out as a voice actor. And I still get messages of people just telling me how my character affected them and helped them and whatnot. And it's just, as actors and entertainers, and I'm sure you can, agree with this from a writing standpoint, you help people escape, and we really do play a necessary role in helping people, escape from the harsh realities of life and enjoying themselves and whatnot. So to hear people talk about my work and to praise it, or to, tell me how it made them feel, it's the best feeling in the world, because I do love helping people. And I really do believe that as artists, we do help people in our own ways and in, different ways for different people. So
I completely agree with you.
yeah.
It's wonderful to hear that still the first works you ever really did, they still make you feel so proud, and you still get such pleasure from hearing that.
It's wonderful. It's always good to just listen to where you came from and just, see how you've evolved as an actor. I actually really do like listening back to old things, no matter how cringeworthy they were. It's just, you're always growing, and it's always nice to see how you affected people and help them and stuff like that. So
outside of voice acting, what do you like to do in your spare time?
I'm a big gamer. I love playing video games. Lately I've been back into World of Warcraft, so that's been fun. And I'm a new dad, so being with my son, because now he's getting older. He's 2 months now, but he started to laugh and smile at, at funny faces that my wife and I make and tickle him and stuff. So it's the best feeling in the world. So just being with him and my wife, and especially now that it's the holidays, I'm a big Christmas nerd. So we're actually going to have like a Christmas movie marathon later on today. So video games, movies, and time with my wife and son if I could do that outside of voiceover always, I'm happy.
Sounds like the perfect combination of work and a good family life with a bit of fun as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely good to have that balance.
And mazel tov on your son, honestly.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So wonderful to hear.
Thank you. He's going to be he's gonna be a voice actor before he knows it, and you'll kind of understand why as more things happen. But you'll see. I promise you'll see with how his career is gonna take off.
I look forward to it.
I don't want to give too much away, but hopefully you'll see soon enough.
Lastly, and I cannot believe we're on the last question already.
I know, it's crazy. It's like time flew.
Is there anything you'd like to say that you haven't already in this interview?
Honestly, I would just, to the fans of Project Infinity, like, thank you. I feel so honored to serve you guys and give you, entertainment as episodes come out, and thank you for allowing me to, portray Gun and everything. And to my clients and, everybody else who's kind of helped build up my career, thank you as well, because to be trusted to give voice to, whatever it may be, a character or a video game or a commercial or, even just, a podcast, even just to you, thank you as an interview. It's so important to have a voice. It really, really is. And I think being given the opportunity to lend my voice and give voice to all these different projects that I've been in, it's a dream come true. So thank you for trusting me with that, because I know that it's a very, very, very important job.
Thank you on 2 counts. 1, to hear your appreciation, and 2, as a fan of Project Infinity, I say thank you as well. And that's all I have for you today, guys. Thank you for watching, and I really hope you have enjoyed this interview with the voice actor Tom Aglio. Like, comment, and hit that subscribe button, and tell me, what did you think of the interview? Do you agree that Tom loves what he does? In the description below, I have left links to Tom's social media accounts and to his website. 1, check out his Twitter account, as Tom regularly posts Tom Talk, where he gives tips on voice acting. And 2, video makers, take note. If you are looking for a great voice actor to do narration work for your commercials, animation, and or video games, then Tom is your man. Check out his materials and get in touch with him now. Moreover, my debut fantasy novella, The Sultan's Daughter, is out. If you are looking for a book that is short, fast-paced, and full of suspense, then check it out. I have left a link in the description below for that as well. Otherwise, until next time, keep well. Once again, guys, I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching my video. I really appreciate it, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Hit that subscribe button, and then you will be the first to receive more awesome content from my channel, and I hope to see you again soon.